Hey y'all, I hope your day's been good so far today, and want to take the opportunity to share some principles with you that I learned this year from the book The Slight Edge. And what a powerful book by Jeff Olson, and he teaches some really awesome principles about compounding your time. And I read this book through the corporate education program that's Launching a Leadership Revolution corporate education program, and what a wonderful book I learned where I've seen some results in my life as a result of reading this book. And I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here today and speak with you. And what a privilege it is. And I hope you'll learn something today. And we're going to talk about this power of compounding your time. The power of compounding your time. Jeff talks about in this book, he talks about there's 3 reasons why we don't produce good habits in our life. Why do we not produce good habits in our life? Number 1 reason he gives is because these habits are easy to do. And they're also very easy not to do. And we've all heard that before, but let's dissect that a little bit and dig in. Fundamentally, we all pretty much do the same thing every day. Fundamentally, we wake up, we sleep, we eat, we talk, we think, we feel, we listen. We all fundamentally do the same thing every day. So why is it then that some people seem to be so successful at it and others tend to blame other things around them for why they can't be successful? Well, let me explain. We were all given the same 24 hours in our day. Everybody was. Everybody was given the same 168 hours in our week. But it's what we choose to do with those hours and that we were given by God every day that determines our success. Did you know that everybody was given the same fair shot at success in life? Because we were all given the same 24 hours in our day. Because these principles, remember, these habits are easy to do. They're very easy to do. Number 2, because the results are invisible. Why do we not produce good habits? Because the results tend to be invisible. And number 3, the results, these habits seem very insignificant in our lives. They seem very insignificant. This past January, I read this book, The Slight Edge, and I read it and I enjoyed it so much. But in February, I began to apply those principles right away. All I wanted to do in my life was wake up earlier in the morning and get more accomplished in the morning than I was at the end of the day. I wanted to simply restructure my day and my thinking. So this book helped me do that. And what I thought was, in my mind, the thing that was holding me back, as Dave Schwartz talks about, your brain starts going to work for you in the magic of thinking big. But in my mind, to do something for 30 minutes was a long time to do something. But all I wanted to do in the morning was I wanted to wake up, I wanted to exercise, I wanted to read my Bible, and I wanted to read a book every morning. Every morning, I wanted to take 30 minutes to do it. But I never could get past that 30-minute thing. But what I did decide to do after reading this book was I decided, you know what? Instead of trying to do all of this in 30 minutes in my mind, why don't I instead separate it into 3 10-minute segments and say, instead of doing all of it for 30 minutes, let me instead, in my mind, restructure it in my thinking. Exercise for 10 minutes, read my Bible for 10 minutes, and read a book for 10 minutes. And for me, I remember the day that happened in February of this year, just a few months ago, when it finally clicked for me. And it made sense, because now I can use those 30 minutes every morning. I can get 3 things accomplished at 10 minutes apiece instead of 1 thing for 30 minutes. And what an exciting opportunity that was for me in my life to help me understand these little principles. They seem so invisible, and they seem so insignificant, so minor. But yet, just a few months later, it's amazing the results I'm seeing in my life simply because I began to apply these principles, little bitty bits of changes compounded over time. So number 1 reason why we don't produce good habits is because they're easy to do. Number 2 reason is because the results are invisible. People don't come up and say, hey, way to go on getting some new results in your life. People don't tend to do that. But number 3, because the changes, the habits, seem so insignificant. And all it takes is a little bit of change compounded over time to make a big difference in your life. What if you, today, could decide to make a small change in your life, how many lives do you think would be affected when you chose to do that? How many lives do you think you would impact in the next 6 months, next year, simply because you spent the next 6 months compounding small changes over time, consistently is the key word, to make a difference in the lives of many people around you? What if you could do that? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine what it's like to have actual results of compounded in your life?